89 is hereby adopted.
Thank you very much. You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion or amendment to the rule?
Yes.
Mr. McGovern, you're recognized.
First of all, let me just ask a question. Where's the rule on the bill that we just took testimony on? We've taken no testimony on this. We've had no discussion of this. I'm just wondering, where's the other rule?
That will be coming shortly.
So let me just say for the record, Madam Chair, and to all my colleagues here, I've been here for a while on this committee. I was here as a staffer as well. This is the worst process I have ever seen in my life. The rule in front of us, and I have to say, the meaningless resolution that came out of thin air was never noticed. I mean, I'm still going through it. There's some language in here that I don't like, but I mean, but at the end of the day, and I look at it, and while it looks like a bill, it isn't. It's a resolution, a non-binding resolution. This is a smokescreen. It is a glorified press release. And if you want to put this on the floor, fine. I think we would all welcome an hour of debate on this topic because the American people want us to be talking about this. They're quite frankly very disappointed that after all of the years of Trump and his Attorney General and his now head of the FBI hyping this conspiracy theory up, they want to have a full debate on this. But I have a couple of questions about the resolution, and maybe Madam Chair or maybe Mr. Norman, whoever wants to answer them can. But does this have the force of law?
Democrats are so desperate to use the serious issue of sex trafficking to score political points. They're speaking out both sides of your mouths almost in real time. And we really don't have any tolerance for attacks on the resolution. It's a sound, good faith resolution that ensures protections for victims and innocent witnesses. If your qualm is that this is a resolution and not a bill, then why did you all offer Representative Veazey's resolution just 3 nights ago? You weren't attacking resolutions and their force or effect just nights ago. Democrats are now attacking the same type of vehicle they supported on Monday night. This resolution sends a clear signal and carries considerable weight to the full scope of this debate.
So for those watching at home, the answer is no. And just let me respond with a couple of things. One, we tried to offer you an amendment that would have done something, and you rejected it. Then we offered a non-binding option, which you also rejected. Two, a bill didn't exist then. A bipartisan bill currently does exist by Mr. Khanna and Mr. Massey. So a non-binding resolution wasn't good enough for you a week ago, but now there's a bill available. You take it. You want to avoid voting on that legislation. I guess the other question is, what happens if the administration doesn't follow any of the suggestions in this non-binding resolution? What's the recourse?
There's a time limit on the resolution, and if the administration does not adhere to that time limit, then we will deal with the issue at that time.
Okay, so in other words, nothing. But let me ask another question. Since this can't be brought up for debate tomorrow, or tonight. What day next week will this be on the floor?
Well, that will be announced.
When?
And the majority leader will make that announcement.
So can you guarantee us and to everybody watching that this will absolutely be brought up on the floor next week?
That's the majority leader's decision to make.
Yeah. I mean, millions of people are focused on this issue, and millions of people are angry that there's been inaction, and so we have a non-binding resolution that doesn't have the force of law, and we can't get a guarantee or even a guesstimate as to when this might be brought up. And furthermore, we can debate the rule on this non-binding resolution, but that's it. There's no debate like we have on most bills where people can get up and discuss the pros and cons and what this bill means. I got to tell you, I don't think. I get it. I mean, this is a loophole. This is cover, and I get it. My friends on the committee who voted against trying to do something more significant, not only in this committee but also on the House floor. On the House floor, are getting some pushback from your constituents. I get it, but I got to tell you, I don't think your constituents are a cheap date. I think they will see this for what it is. But Madam Chair, in a moment, I'm going to offer an amendment to the rule which will strike the brand-new non-binding resolution on Epstein and instead provide for immediate consideration of H.R. 4405, the bipartisan Epstein Files Transparency Act, introduced by Representatives Khanna and Massey. I've been listening to what people have to say about releasing the Epstein files, and I'm sure you have as well. People don't want more empty promises of future action. They've seen this movie before. They know how it ends. They want direct, decisive action by Congress, and they want it now. So let me explain this to people at home. This resolution they are offering is a cover vote, and I'll be surprised if they even bring it to the floor. It's Republicans pretending to do something because they're feeling heat at home. The bipartisan bill that we are offering, H.R. 4405, isn't another empty promise. Like your resolution, which again, your leadership may never even bring to the floor, and I'm surprised that you're coming to the Rules Committee without a date certain when this is coming up. But what we're doing with the Khanna-Massey bill is not kicking the can down the road. It is a bipartisan bill that would direct the Attorney General to release the Epstein files within 30 days. It details exactly which records to release and ensures nothing is hidden to protect people in power while protecting the privacy of the victims. If you've been listening to your constituents this week, you know that this bill is what they're asking for, not some weak, non-binding resolution to protect yourselves from an awkward vote. So a vote for my amendment is a vote to bring a bipartisan bill to the floor that would actually release the Epstein files and not the glorified press release that you are proposing today. A vote against my amendment is a vote to give Republican members a fig leaf so they can move on from this issue like President Trump asked them to do. Now, we may hear arguments from Republicans that this amendment isn't technically germane, and I can understand why you'll try to hide behind germaneness because you don't want to take this vote. But the Rules Committee has a long, long, long history of allowing votes on non-germane amendments, including when I was chair, and allowed Republicans to offer amendments on resolutions of inquiry. We took the votes. We took the votes. That's what we do here in the Rules Committee. Germaneness was never enforced on minority motions. So don't pretend that we cannot add this bill to the rule. Of course we can. You could have done it yourselves, or you could do it right now by voting for my amendment. It's that simple. The fact of the matter is, you don't want to vote on actually releasing the Epstein files, not up here and not on the floor. And what are you afraid of? And for anyone who raises a point of order on germaneness, just know that you're going to be extra famous for going beyond, for going above and beyond to block this bill from going to the floor. If one of you drew the short straw and makes a point of order, and this amendment is ruled out of order, I intend to appeal the ruling of the chair to ensure that this bill will come to the floor. So let me be clear. A vote against appealing the ruling of the chair is a vote to block the bipartisan bill to actually release the Epstein files. And look, all of you know what the right thing to do is here. Listen to your constituents, listen to your conscience. Don't get bullied by your leadership and by this president. Why would anybody want to stop this bill from getting a vote? And so I hope my Republican colleagues have been listening to their constituents. Madam Chair, I have an amendment to the rule. I move the committee strike all after the resolve clause of the rule, which deems as adopted a brand new non-binding resolution on Epstein and instead provides for the immediate consideration of H.R. 4405, the bipartisan Epstein Files Transparency Act, under a closed rule with 1 hour of debate.
Mr. McGovern, again, you're trying to characterize how we vote and why we vote, but it's very interesting to see you suddenly express interest in Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, given that President Biden had 4 years to take meaningful action and did nothing. Unfortunately, our colleagues tried to weaponize this discussion earlier this week as an attempt to derail the passage of the most significant crypto legislation in history. The amendments offered earlier this week were significantly lacking in protections for victims, whistleblowers, and innocent witnesses. I support this resolution, which we've introduced tonight, which requires the release of credible information, protects whistleblowers and victims of sexual abuse, and finally allows the whole world to review the full details of everyone involved in the heinous acts connected to Jeffrey Epstein. It's clear this resolution is entirely necessary, and it's a good faith effort that's rooted in accountability in the right ways and for the right reasons, unlike the prank Democrats pulled earlier this week. I look forward to working with the Trump administration to ensure that justice is finally served.
Madam Chair, with just all due respect, the bill that we're offering does provide protections for victims, number one. And number two, it wasn't Democrats that have been weaponizing this for years. It has been Republicans, including the President of the United States, including the current director of the FBI, including every kind of MAGA, right-wing influencer has been talking about releasing these files. And so, again, with all due respect, I urge that my colleagues support our amendment, and I'm happy to.
Madam Chair, is the amendment a bill?
It's a bill.
It is a bill, okay. And Madam Chair, unless I'm mistaken, a bill would then actually have to go to the Senate and then would be subject to signature of the President of the United States. Is that correct? And therefore, if his amendment is adopted, it would be weeks before, months, actually, before anything would be done, because it would have to go to the Senate, and it would be subject to the signature of the President of the United States. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
That is correct.
Yeah,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we know who's playing the game.
And it would have the power of a law. Your bill has no
Only
power
upon
at
the
all.
signature
And we
of the
can-
President.
Can the gentleman give me the date that he intends to bring up his non-binding resolution to the floor? Can you tell us we're going to be in next week?
We've told you that will be up to the
you told
majority
me that
leader.
it's up to the majority leader. It's hard for me to believe that nobody asked the majority leader when you intend to bring this up. I mean, that's not a hard question. We're not, you noticed us, what was coming up to the Rules Committee next week, much ado about nothing. So, I mean, and you've limited debate on this so that we only have an hour on the rule. So clearly, it's not like it's a timing issue. So I think, it would be helpful to know that question. Maybe while we're having this debate, someone can call the majority leader's office and maybe get an answer.
Again, Madam Chair, I just want to make sure I understand. His motion, if adopted, would then send the piece of legislation to the Senate, and that would be months, and it would be the Senate majority leader then that would have to schedule for a piece of legislation to go, the piece of legislation to go to the floor, and then it would be subject to the signature of the President of the United States. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Why don't
Okay.
you- why don't
I
you-
just want to make sure I was correct about what your motion
don't we-
actually
why-
does instead of what you're saying it does.
Why don't we put it on the floor to see whether we get a veto-proof majority? Your bill does nothing. It's a resolution. It's a glorified press release. And you may be satisfied with that. Maybe you know some people who have been reaching out to you and putting pressure on you to do something might be satisfied with that. I'm willing to bet you the majority of people who are watching this, including Republicans, will not be satisfied.
Facts are separate things, aren't they? Your proposal requires months and requires the signature of the
It
President.
doesn't require months. It can move quickly. The Senate could take this up immediately if they want to. Yours
Mr.
requires 30 days.
Mr. McGovern, this is a very similar document to what you offered on Monday, and it is.
I don't think the point of order is timely anymore, Madam. So I insist on a vote on my
on your amendment. Okay,
Before we take that vote, may I be heard?
the question,
Yeah.
well, he's asked for a vote on his motion, and I'm going to call for a vote on his motion, since he has done that.
We would like
So
to
the
be-
question,
I will get back there.
the question is on the amendment from Mr. McGovern. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No.
I asked for a
In the
roll call.
opinion, Chair, the noes have it. The amendment's not agreed to. The clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach? Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Norman? Mr. Norman, no. Mr. Roy? Mr. Roy, no. Mrs. Houchin? Mrs. Houchin, no. Mr. Langworthy? Mr. Langworthy, no. Mr. Scott? Mr. Scott, no. Mr. Griffith? Mr. Griffith, no. Mr. Jack? Mr. Jack, no. Mr. McGovern?
Aye.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Ms. Scanlon? Ms. Scanlon, aye. Mr. Neguse? Mr. Neguse, aye. Ms. Ledger Fernandez? Ms. Ledger Fernandez, aye. Madam Chair?
No.
Madam Chair, no.
The clerk will report the total.
4 yeas, 9 nays.
The noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
Madam Chair, I have another amendment to the rule. I move the committee add a new section to the rule providing for immediate consideration of H.R. 4405, the bipartisan Epstein Files Transparency Act, under a closed rule with 1 hour of debate. Okay, you didn't want to replace your non-binding resolution. Fair enough, I guess. How about also providing for consideration of a bill that would actually release the Epstein files? Again, I ask again, why would anybody be against bringing this bill to the floor? You could bring both.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Griffith.
I'm trying to figure out where we are, Madam Chair, and we didn't have a written copy of the previous amendment. I don't have a written copy of this one. Is this amendment different than the previous amendment?
Yes.
And which bill, if, I thought the
This one
original
allows
amendment
both.
was,
This one allows your non-binding, meaningless resolution and a real bill with the force of law. So you debate two.
but it's the same bill that you were talking about previously.
Correct.
All right, that was my inquiry, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Which has been available for 2 days online, unlike your resolution.
And unlike your amendment of last week, or earlier this week. Madam Chair, point of order.
Mr. Griffith.
Is this
Raises-
amendment germane to the resolution
Madam
we're
Chair, that's not a timely
considering?
point of order.
I'm sorry?
It's not a timely point of order.
Point
A
of,
discussion, and, you know,
the previous was a point of parliamentary inquiry. Now I'm doing a point of order. I discussed the parliamentary inquiry so I could figure out what we're doing.
Nobody reserved a point of order.
Mr. McGovern, you did not give us something in writing which caused confusion among the members, and therefore, there were questions being asked. So it is a timely point of order.
Madam Chair, I disagree with the assertions of the ranking member because of the confusion. How can I make a point of order when I don't know what we're doing because I don't have it in writing? I could not make a point or reserve a point on something I don't know what it is. Now I know what it is, I make a point of order.
I agree with Mr. Griffith that you created confusion, Mr. McGovern. Therefore, the committee will suspend while we try to sort out the confusion you've created. The rule provides for consideration of our resolution, not a bill. Therefore, the amendment is not germane.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
Mr. McGovern appeals the ruling of the chair. The question is on the appeal of the ruling of the chair. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed
I ask
to.
for a roll call.
The gentleman asked for a roll call. The clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach? Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Norman? Mr. Norman, no. Mr. Roy? Mr. Roy, no. Mrs. Houchin? Mrs. Houchin, no. Mr. Langworthy? No. Mr. Langworthy, no. Mr. Scott? No. Mr. Scott, no. Mr. Griffith? No. Mr. Griffith, no. Mr. Jack? No. Mr. Jack, no. Mr. McGovern?
Aye.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Ms. Scanlon? Aye. Ms. Scanlon, aye. Mr. Neguse? Mr. Neguse, aye. Ms. Ledger Fernandez?
Because his motion would actually require a binding resolution of law and order of law.
Point of order.
It's a vote. True.
Ms. Ledger Fernandez, aye. Madam Chair?
No.
Madam Chair, no.
Clerk will report the total.
4 yeas, 9 nays.
And the noes have it. The appeal of the ruling of the chair is not agreed to.
Yeah,
Is there any
yes,
other
yes.
amendment or
Yes,
discussion?
and I've never seen I've never seen a majority in this committee so intent on trying to deny anything from coming to the floor for a real debate and vote. But in a moment, I'm going to offer.
Point of order.
I'm going to offer an amendment. What's the point of order?
I thought the gentleman was recognized for amendment, and yet he's speaking on the amendment before it's been
That's
offered,
right.
so I
He
don't
said
really speak.
discussion or amendment.
You don't have an amendment.
We don't have an amendment
I
in
do,
front of us.
yes, I'm, in a moment, I'm going to offer an amendment to convert this non-binding resolution to an actual bill that could have the force of law. This non-binding resolution is completely meaningless, as I've said. If you actually want the Epstein files to become public, pass an actual bill that can become law. Make this real. Again, my motion will be to provide a rule for your own text, as flawed as it is, just as a bill instead of a resolution. And a no vote on my motion would just show that you don't actually want the Epstein files to be released. So, Madam Chair, I have an amendment to the rule. I move the committee strike all after the resolve clause of the rule, which deems as adopted a brand-new non-binding resolution on Epstein, and instead provide for immediate consideration of the same exact text converted to an actual bill, an HR instead of an HRES, under a closed rule with 1 hour of debate.
Point of order. Germaneness.
Griffith?
And if I'm allowed to speak to the germaneness,
You are allowed to speak.
the reason I made my objection earlier is, and maybe the Rules Committee does things differently than most legislative bodies, but you put the amendment out there first so that if there's a point of order, the whole point of a point of order, and the reason that Jefferson gave the rules in the parliamentary practice and procedure by Jefferson is to make this place efficient. Instead of having speeches given on something that's not in order, you're supposed to cut to the chase. And this is not germane, and it shouldn't have a soliloquy going in front of it. I yield.
I agree with Mr. Griffith. The rule provides for consideration of one resolution, not a bill. Therefore, the amendment is not germane.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
They,
I want everybody on record on these things, so I appeal the ruling of the chair.
The question is on the appeal of the ruling of the chair. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it.
Would like a roll call, please.
Mr. McGovern requests a roll call. The clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach? Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Norman? No. Mr. Norman, no. Mr. Roy? No. Mr. Roy, no. Mrs. Houchin? No. Mrs. Houchin, no. Mr. Langworthy? No. Mr. Langworthy, no. Mr. Scott? No. Mr. Scott, no. Mr. Griffith? No. Mr. Griffith, no. Mr. Jack? No. Mr. Jack, no. Mr. McGovern?
Aye.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Ms. Scanlon? Aye. Ms. Scanlon, aye. Mr. Neguse? Aye. Mr. Neguse, aye. Ms. Ledger Fernandez? Aye. Ms. Ledger Fernandez, aye. Madam Chair?
No.
Madam Chair, no.
Clerk will report the total.
4 yeas, 9 nays.
And the noes have it. The appeal of the ruling of the chair is not agreed to.
And Madam Chair, I just, again, want to reiterate the point I made earlier. I've been on this committee for a long time, and I've never seen anything quite like this. And it is really disappointing. And I yield back. I know others may have something to say.
Madam Chair, can I speak to the?
You're recognized, Ms. Scanlon.
Thank you. I mean, I do think it's important that we add a little context here. Mr. McGovern has mentioned that our constituents are saying they want to see the release of the Epstein files. I suspect your constituents are saying the same thing, and that's why it is important that this be something that actually has the force of law rather than the glorified press release that doesn't even have to go to the Senate, as Rep. Scott so kindly pointed out. But while we've been here, there's a little additional context that's been added, so I'd seek unanimous consent to enter a Wall Street Journal article dated today, July 17th. It was released at 6:45 p.m. after we started here. It's entitled, Jeffrey Epstein's friends sent him bawdy letters for a 50th birthday album. One was from Donald Trump, and there's a fairly interesting, some might even say titillating article attached. But so I would seek unanimous consent to enter that in the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. And I think it really goes to the question that is sort of consuming the country at this point, which is, what did the president know and when did he know it?
Thank you, Ms. Scanlon. Does any other member wish to speak? Mr. Norman.
You know, as the chair brought up, this is really kind of hypocritical for y'all at this point. You've had 4 years to bring it up. Where was your inquiry then? Where were the facts? As you know, the public's not letting this die. This is coming out. And so as that article, now, the president's saying it's artificial intelligence, that will be proven in due time. But this has got a date on it. This has got a date, and it contains most of the things that Massey and Rokana had. I thought Mr. Neguse had a good point about some language in here that you thought was, I think it was some of the information could be excluded. But bottom line, this is going to be debated in the public. It's got a 30-day time limit on it. And it's got a 30-day time limit.
The vote.
You know, that's not for me to call, Mr., and I'm not going to debate you on this. All I'm going to say is this, I know y'all's intent. Had it been important during a previous administration, you would be, you know, on it as you would have so many other things. You didn't care. This is after one man, and it's going to come out. The Wall Street Journal, you're going to have other things, and that would be debated in the public. So I don't know, you know, I just, I guess it's what you want is just you're hammering on this because you think you've got some political gain on it. The American people are going to judge the end results of this. And I think when all the facts come out, let them judge it. All of us want transparency. And so, you know, I think had you brought this up over the previous years, this president's been in office now for 4 months, 5 months. And you've ripped him apart when you could, but it's not working, and the American people know it. This is going to come out. We would not have even brought this up if it wouldn't. I yield back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Norman. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
No, Rez.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Ledger Fernandez.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, Mr. Neguse.
Joe was first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess first, just a couple of questions that I think our side of the aisle, as we're reviewing the resolution that we just received, you know, about 15 minutes ago, have. I think the first that Mr. McGovern was articulating, and there was a bit of an exchange back and forth, and so I do think it's helpful to clarify this for the public. The resolution, and maybe this is a question for Mr. Griffith or for Mr. Norman, the resolution that's been introduced, does it have the force of law? That is to say, it's a resolution, right? So it's not a bill. This was the exchange that Mr. Scott and Mr. McGovern were having, Ranking Member McGovern were having. Because it's not a bill, while I understand the resolution includes language like shall, sort of directing the Attorney General, is it your position that the resolution functions as a bill? I guess I'm trying to understand how this would enact any kind of compliance from the department. Because it's a sense of Congress, essentially. And so how does the administration, if it passes the House, is the Attorney General legally obligated to then comply with the sense of Congress?
And if I might, Madam Chair,
I'm happy to yield.
Mr. Griffith?
I would submit to the gentleman that part of the concern, same concern I have with CRAs, is that if it's a bill, it has to go to the president, who appoints the Attorney General for signature. It's always going to be an issue. The legislative body needs to make decisions for itself. This calls on them to take action 30 days after passage, and then further, we put this in there specifically to try to answer that question. I'm looking on page 5 of this draft. urges the relevant House committees to initiate formal investigations into any obstruction, suppression, or delay of the file's release. So while it would be accurate that a bill would have the full force and effect of law, what this says on behalf of the House is that should we not get the information that we are saying needs to be released, demands that it be released, that we would then urge all relevant House committees. Unfortunately, the Rules Committee is not in a position to demand. We are urging, and if the body does it, they've got a little bit more clout, but we're urging all relevant House committees, and we you know, in my own mind, I at least debated, and I think some of the others were in agreement on this. Jurisdiction may be judiciary, it may be oversight. The bottom line is, House committees are being urged to initiate formal investigations to any obstruction, suppression, or delay of the file's release of the Epstein information related to the charges in the investigation into both him and his sidekick.
I want to reclaim, thank you, Mr. Griffith, and I mean it in all sincerity, I just know the chair I'm going to get in trouble with the chair.
I
if it goes
understand.
too long. So I guess what I would just suggest is that if we know that a bill has the force of law, that there is no wiggle room, that the Attorney General would be required to comply with a bill because it's a federal statute, if in fact it makes its way through the entire process. And we have a bill that Mr. Massey, Republican, has introduced. That, I think, is the vehicle, not a resolution that is a sense of Congress that ultimately, I hear your point, you know, the accountability mechanism that you put in the bill, which is essentially urging the committees to investigate. I'm sure you could recognize the skepticism, you know, we would have on our side of the aisle. I'm sure you feel the same way about, you know, the Republican-controlled Congress investigating, you know, the president and taking that step. But my view is that is the most salient difference here, is that Mr. Massey and Mr. Khanna's bill has the force of law. There is no escaping it. The president, the Attorney General, would have to comply with it. The second thing I would say is there are two provisions in the resolution that concern me. There was a reference to this by Mr. Norman. One is that in the permitted withholdings section, and neither of these are in Mr. Massey and Mr. Khanna's resolution. The language says that the Attorney General may withhold or redact the segregable portions of records that, and then you go to subsection G, subparagraph G, are demonstrably false or unauthenticated. So basically what this resolution says is that if Attorney General Bondi decides that there's information in the file, or in those files that she thinks is false or unauthenticated, that information would then not be published to Congress or to the American people. The President of the United States right now, tonight, is posting on True Social and elsewhere that the Wall Street Journal article that was just quoted by Ms. Scanlon, that's fake, that's false, is what he's claiming. Which means that that's the exact type of information that the Attorney General could deem excludable from any kind of provisioning to the public. And so what I had said to Mr. Norman is while I understand some of these other provisions that quote specifically the federal rules of criminal procedure, for example, grand jury testimony, I think that provision is problematic. The second provision that I think is problematic is subsection F. Subsection F, again, this is the Attorney General may withhold or redact the segregable portions of records that contain information specifically authorized under criteria established by an executive order to be kept secret in the interest of national defense or foreign policy and are in fact properly classified pursuant to such executive order. The issue is there's no standards by which we can evaluate the propriety of the president's executive order. So if the president issued an executive order tomorrow and establishes criteria in his own judgment, says, I think that the criteria should be A, B, and C, and that if it qualifies for A, B, and C, it's in the national interest, the national defense of our country, that should be excluded, then they can exclude it. And I guess my point would be, And you can, if I'm inaccurate about this, I mean this in good faith. If this language is in the Massey resolution, excuse me, the Massey bill, and I'm mistaken on that, but I don't think, yeah, it's not. And so I think those provisions are problematic the way that they have been framed and phrased. And I think had they been constructed specific to federal statute, similar to the rule of 6E of Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure with respect to grand juries, then I think it'd be a different story. But I am concerned about those provisions, and so and I'm happy to yield to the ranking member.
I thank the gentleman. I just wanted to, there's nothing in this resolution that directs any committees to do any investigations. And I
If the
just
gentleman would yield. If the
Yeah, I have
gentleman
to
would
kind of-
yield.
Let me finish my thought.
Let's be careful. I'll recognize.
He yielded to me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and there's nothing here that, in your resolution,
You're
that
right.
instructs committees to do anything. And I don't want you to sell the Rules Committee short, because the Rules Committee has a lot more power than I think you realize. And if you look at the rule book, Rule 10, Clause 1, the jurisdiction of this Rules Committee is primarily over propositions to make or change the rules, to create committees, and to direct them to make investigations. So we have the power to do that if we wanted to. And I just wanted to make, because I'm very proud to be a member of this committee, and I think it has a lot more power than sometimes people give it credit of having, so.
And Madam, if the gentleman would yield to me, I would appreciate it. The ranking member is correct. I misstated the bill. I apologize for that. I recognized it, which is why when he started talking, I said, hey, wait a minute. I was trying to get in, but I did misstate the language of the bill, but it certainly is, the intent of the bill is that if action is not taken, there will be subsequent action. And whatever appropriate committee it's supposed to be in, that's where we will take it. And so I apologize to those members that I've looked at a lot of different things today, and I got my wires crossed, and that's my fault and nobody else's. So I take responsibility for that, and I apologize to the members of the committee that I made a mistake. It was not an intentional misleading of this committee. I would hope that you all know I would never intentionally do it. I might be wrong, but at the time I say something, I think it's the accurate, and I did not mean to mislead this committee, and I apologize.
No offense taken, and I thank the gentleman as well. And I would just say, I think that I've articulated, in my view, the many different provisions of this resolution that are problematic. And I guess I would just say that, in closing, there's a Republican-led Republican-led bill by Mr. Massey. It has the support of multiple Republicans in your caucus. It certainly has the support of Democrats as well. It's bipartisan. It has the force of law. And I think it deserves a vote on the floor. And I hope my colleagues will join us in signing the discharge petition for that bill as I will.
Mr. Neguse, Section F and Section G are both in the Massey resolution.
No, they're not. Madam Chair, I have the Massey.
Can you point me to the?
I'm not sure if they're in exactly the same place, but my understanding is that those two clauses are in the Massey resolution.
And I think the gentleman, I will look, I have the resolution here, so I will circle back.
Thank you.
I would just add for clarification, I don't believe G is in there. I think F, I believe F is in
F
there
is in.
in slightly different wording without the executive order first sentence with some national security language behind
Precisely,
that,
but it's-
which is language that is similar. And I get that your point is that the
Exactly.
executive
And
order.
that's the point. It's not that there are, so I guess if the chairman would indulge me, and only 30 seconds, but yes, subsection G is not in the Massey resolution. That language is not, and it's not rooted in any statutory basis. So that it's just the idea that the Attorney General gets to decide what she believes is false, and she can exclude it. And then with respect to the national security piece, I certainly concede, I'm not suggesting, and you're right, looking at the Massey resolution, Mr. Roy, that it does include a national security provision, but it does not provide this broad flexibility to issue the executive order. That was my issue. But anyway, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neguse.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Leisure Fernandez, you recognize?
I'd like to begin by yielding time to my ranking member.
Again, I think it's important. You could have instructed committees of jurisdiction to investigate, and you chose not to. But I just also want to make the point that we just gave you the opportunity to take your exact language, as flawed as it is, and give it the force of law. And you all voted against that. I think that speaks volumes, and I thank the gentlelady for yielding, and I yield back.
Thank you, Ranking Member. I think that that is precisely the issue that we are discussing, is there is a bill that contains much of the same language, not exactly, that would have the force of law. And this committee, the Rules Committee, has the power to require that it be taken up immediately. And this committee is rejecting that. You rejected a motion before, and you have rejected an amendment which would require that H.R. 4405, which has the force of law, to require that the Epstein files be released, subject to the redactions. Mr. Scott had pointed out that there was no protection for the victims, and I will read from H.R. 4405, the
You did
law,
not
the
offer
post of law,
HR.
it says the,
You
Mr.
did not
Scott-
offer that.
Mr. Scott.
You did not
Mr.
offer that
Scott.
on Monday.
Scott,
Madam Chair,
Mr.
order. Madam Chair, order.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
do not appreciate being
Yes,
yelled
ma'am.
at.
I don't
because
appreciate
I
being
was
lied about.
Mr.
Mr.
Scott,
Scott, you are not
please.
being recognized. This is my time, Mr. Scott. I am speaking. I am speaking, and what I am pointing out is that there was a motion to include a enforceable law to be voted on by the House of Representatives as to whether the House of Representatives, including every single Democrat and Republican on the House of Representatives, would require the release of the Epstein files. And you've rejected that. And in that law, that was the subject of the motion that you all voted no on, it did indeed protect the identity of the victims at C parens 1A. It did protect the identity of the victims. So this law that would have the force of law that could go to the floor and be voted on, you have rejected. And with regards to the additional point of whether the rules could require that any committee take this up, they already could require that any of the committees that are controlled by Republicans right now could take up the issue of whether or not the files are being withheld, manipulated. That is some of the oversight that this Congress is not doing of this administration. So you have the power and you have the ability to vote on it. So once again, to summarize, this committee has the power to require that an enforceable law be taken up and voted on. The language is the same, but you are instead choosing to move forward on some indefinite time. We're going to go home. It's going to be 6 weeks before we come back. On some indefinite time that there might be a vote. You're not even requiring, if you cared enough about this, you would have negotiated, because you've been negotiating all day today, haven't you? We haven't been in this Rules Committee because you've been negotiating, and I'm not going to say where you could, but somebody negotiating, if I were in there negotiating, perhaps I would have required that there be a date certain by which this was heard, would have required that it be something enforceable, would have required that it not be basically a loophole that you could drive a parade through, let alone a Mack truck. The loopholes in here are huge. The whole resolution is huge. And I think that the issue with regards to what was reported in the Wall Street Journal, the key thing about that is that report discusses a birthday card that was sent after Epstein had already been indicted the first time around. And I would like to now see if any of my colleagues would like any additional time. And yield to my dear colleague from Colorado.
I think the gentlewoman, I certainly agree with all of her sentiments, and I think in real time now, I suspect some of my colleagues might talk about this, the announcement on social media regarding grand jury materials that the Department of Justice may seek to unseal. And I think, if anything, it's emblematic of the prior conversation we were having, because the grand jury provision that's in the resolution, which would exclude all grand jury material, was not in the Massey resolution, Massey bill, I should say. And now, obviously, this latest development, in some respects, adds to this conversation. So I think, again, it's a reminder that the provisions in this resolution, I think, are problematic.
Right, and the other problem about this resolution, and this is the issue, is right now it's the Attorney General who has refused to release the files, to release whatever information it is. And so their non-binding resolution gives all the authority to the Attorney General and the President, who can then continue to obfuscate, continue reviews. And I think that this is one of those issues where the voters are smarter than this. The voters can read through something that is non-binding, that doesn't require, that is simply, somebody called it a glorified press release, right? I think the voters are smarter than that and will recognize that what has been presented here, it's a bunch of words on paper that are not enforceable. And there's not even a date when the House will take it up. In every other rule that we've passed in this House, it goes, we know when it's going to be heard. It's going to be heard tomorrow. It's going to be heard Wednesday. We get a schedule. We know it's on. And once again, Madam Chair, we have no schedule for this. Is that correct?
Well, Ms. Leisure-Fernandez, I think what we're going to see is that this resolution has had much more of an impact than you are giving it credit for. And so I would suggest that we fairly soon have a vote on this, and then we move on, because I believe we will get the results that we want, which is a clear exposition of any materials that are out there regarding Jeffrey Epstein. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question was whether there was a date for this resolution to be heard.
I'm saying to you, yes, there is a date, not a date necessarily when this is going to be heard next week on the floor, but there was a date in the resolution. And as I said, I believe what you're going to learn shortly is that the effect of this resolution is much stronger than any of you had expected it to have.
So there is no date for this to be heard. There is a date that is on the paper here, but that date goes from, that date doesn't begin we don't count the dates until we actually pass the resolution. So if we don't have a date for the passing of resolution, it could be never. I guess that's the problem, is there is no date. And I'll yield to a colloquy with I've never gotten to have a colloquy with you.
Well, I'm
my
honored.
good friend from Colorado, and I know you love doing that. I yield to you.
I'm honored, and I guess, perhaps close the hearing shortly here in the same fashion in which we started it, which was Mr. Norman, I think he said, this isn't going away, and I completely agree with him. And what I would say is, we're talking about operative dates. The operative date is that the Tom Massey Ro Khanna bill and the discharge petition that Mr. Massey has filed will become ripe. And, I'm hoping that votes are scheduled tomorrow so that petition becomes ripe next week so that we can vote on it. But irrespective of the Republican calendar and how votes are calendared, it will become ripe soon. And every member of the House will have an opportunity to weigh in one way or the other as to whether or not to sign on to that bipartisan bill that Mr. Massey has introduced, and I'm certainly supportive of it.
The gentleman yield would say.
I yield back to the gentleman.
Well, I would also suggest that perhaps everybody who is supportive of this House resolution non-binding and believes that it is important to have that information released could go sign that discharge petition. You have power here, but you also have power by signing the discharge petition, ranking member.
I was just going to ask the same question. With a show of hands, how many of you are going to sign the discharge petition?
We've all signed it.
I mean, okay, nobody, okay. But there'll be a bipartisan discharge petition that will be ripe, and you'll be able to sign it when you come back from your break, and I hope that you will all sign it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'd also, as the old attorney me, I like to point out, let the record reflect that not a single one of the Republicans on the committee raised their hands in favor of the discharge petition. Not a single one of the members in the committee were willing to support the binding law if it were to pass of the Massey Kana HR 4405. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back.
Hearing no further discussion, the question is on the motion from the gentleman from Georgia. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion is agreed to.
Madam Chair, I ask for roll call.
A recorded vote has been requested. The clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach? Yes. Mrs. Fishbach, yes. Mr. Norman? Mr. Norman, aye. Mr. Roy? Aye. Mr. Roy, aye. Mrs. Houchin? Mrs. Houchin, aye. Mr. Langworthy? Mr. Langworthy, aye. Mr. Scott? Aye. Mr. Scott, aye. Mr. Griffith? Mr. Griffith, aye. Mr. Jack?
Aye.
Mr. Jack, aye. Mr. McGovern?
No.
Mr. McGovern, no. Ms. Scanlon? Ms. Scanlon, no. Mr. Neguse? Mr. Neguse, no. Ms. Ledger Fernandez? Ms. Ledger Fernandez, no. Madam Chair?
Aye.
Madam Chair, aye.
The clerk will report the total.
9 yeas, 4 nays.
And the motion is agreed to. Accordingly, the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Scott, will be managing this rule for the majority.
And I'll manage it for the minority if we ever get to it.
The chair will be in receipt of a motion from the gentleman from Virginia.
We don't have the other rule, Madam Chair. Okay, all right.
Right there.
Well, okay. Joe.
Madam Chair.
What's this? How many do we need? Is she going to do public broadcasting? Yeah, good. All right, I'll keep that.
Mr. Griffith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee grant a rule providing that the House shall be considered to have taken from the Speaker's table H.R. 4, the Recissions Act of 2025 with the Senate amendment thereto, and to have concurred in the Senate amendment.
I need to make a statement before we move further.
Okay.
Attempts to amend this legislation at this stage in the process is solely to delay implementation of responsible governance and fiscal sanity. And my colleagues are aware any amendment will compromise the privilege of this legislation in the Senate. Additionally, this is not an arbitrary deadline. It's essential that this legislation be signed into law by this weekend. Further, any amendments to this package regarding Jeffrey Epstein are not germane. This Congress, we've enacted historic savings for the American people, and we must act swiftly to hold Washington accountable and prioritize bloated government spending on programs that actually benefit taxpayers. So we have a motion from the gentleman from Virginia. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, first of all, let me again express my concern about this committee. I mean, we are bringing a bill to the floor under martial law, and we're not even allowing for there to be an hour of debate. And this is a bill that is going to adversely impact millions of people. It involves everything from public broadcasting to international health programs that actually save lives. And we're just going to kind of rush it through. And again, I think this is a lousy precedent. I think this is not the way, on something this big. I mean, you heard the appropriations chair, ranking member, and the chair of the subcommittee. They have strong views on this. So do a whole bunch of other members in this chamber. And so I'm expressing my frustration, not just at the process, but at the integrity of this committee. And I have an amendment to the rule. I move that the committee make an order amendment number 6, offered by Representative Cisneros, which would strike the rescission of the International Disaster Assistance funding and provide for the funding level passed by the Senate Appropriations Committee for fiscal year 2025. Worldwide, 300 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance due to natural or man-made causes. A third of these are in or displaced from Sudan. Hundreds of millions of children, 1 in 5 kids globally, are living in or fleeing from war zones. This amendment would protect funds for health and shelter for vulnerable people and their children fleeing dangerous conditions. And if basic humanity doesn't sway you, international disaster funds help improve our own national security, and I urge a yes vote.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, the question's on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment's not
I ask for a
agreed
roll
to.
call, Madam Chair.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach? No. Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Norman? No. Mr. Norman, no. Mr. Roy? No. Mr. Roy, no. Mrs. Houchin? Mrs. Houchin, no. Mr. Langworthy? No. Mr. Langworthy, no. Mr. Scott? No. Mr. Scott, no. Mr. Griffith? No. Mr. Griffith, no. Mr. Jack? Mr. Jack, no. Mr. McGovern?
Aye.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Ms. Scanlon? Aye. Ms. Scanlon, aye. Mr. Neguse? Aye. Mr. Neguse, aye. Ms. Ledger Fernandez? Aye. Ms. Ledger Fernandez, aye. Madam Chair?
No.
Madam Chair, no.
The clerk will report the total.
4 yeas, 9 nays.
The noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
Madam Chair, I have another amendment to the rule. I move the committee make an order amendment number 10 to the Senate amendment to H.R. 4 offered by Representative Johnson, which strikes the rescission of funds from the bilateral economic assistance funds appropriated to the President global health programs. I wish I could be specific about the devastating impact that these cuts will have. And let me be clear, cuts of this amount to these programs will be devastating. But as we heard in this hearing, the White House hasn't told us exactly what they intend to cut. This is a guessing game. This is an abdication of our duty here in Congress, and lives will be lost because of it. I urge a yes vote on my amendment. I yield back.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, the question's on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment's not
I
agreed.
ask for a roll call, Madam Chair.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach? No. Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Norman? No. Mr. Norman, no. Mr. Roy? No. Mr. Roy, no. Mrs. Houchin? Mrs. Houchin, no. Mr. Langworthy? No. Mr. Langworthy, no. Mr. Scott? No. Mr. Scott, no. Mr. Griffith? No. Mr. Griffith, no. Mr. Jack? No. Mr. Jack, no. Mr. McGovern?
Aye.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Ms. Scanlon? Aye. Ms. Scanlon, aye. Mr. Neguse? Mr. Neguse, aye. Ms. Ledger Fernandez? Aye. Ms. Ledger Fernandez, aye. Madam Chair?
No.
Madam Chair, no.
The clerk will report the total.
4 yeas, 9 nays.
The noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
Madam Chair, I have an amendment to the rule. I move the committee make an order amendment number 3 to the Senate amendment to H.R. 4 offered by Representative Titus, which strikes the paragraph that rescinds funding for the Assistance for Europe, Eurasia, and Central Asia account. Madam Chair, this awful bill will decimate support for Ukraine and partners in the region facing Russian aggression. I find it disgusting that Republicans in Congress have decided to cozy up with Putin and totally abandon the people of Ukraine. Ukraine and neighboring countries are defending fundamental freedoms, and the United States of America, under Republican control, is turning its back on them. I urge a yes vote on my amendment, and I yield back.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, the question is on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment's not
Ask for a
agreed.
roll call, Madam Chair.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach? No. Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Norman? No. Mr. Norman, no. Mr. Roy? Mr. Roy, no. Mrs. Houchin? No. Mrs. Houchin, no. Mr. Langworthy? No. Mr. Langworthy, no. Mr. Scott? No. Mr. Scott, no. Mr. Griffith? No. Mr. Griffith, no. Mr. Jack? No. Mr. Jack, no. Mr. McGovern?
Aye.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Ms. Scanlon? Aye. Ms. Scanlon, aye. Mr. Neguse? Aye. Mr. Neguse, aye. Ms. Ledger Fernandez? Ms. Ledger Fernandez, aye. Madam Chair?
No.
Madam Chair, no.
Clerk report the total.
4 yeas, 9 nays.
The noes have it. The amendment's not agreed to. Ms. Ledger Fernandez, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make an order amendment number 2 to H.R. 4. I move the committee make an order amendment number 2 to the Senate amendment to H.R. 4 offered by Representative Goldman, which strikes the provisions that rescind funds for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. As we discussed earlier today, those funds are incredibly popular. Americans want us to continue funding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting for everything that it does that is in the good of the public, from making sure we have great educational programming to making sure that we have public radio stations in places like Alaska and Kansas and Nebraska, Colorado and New Mexico that aren't normally served by other radio stations, especially to get local news, to get emergency services. I would also point out, Madam Chair, that you made reference earlier to the fact that there was going to be something coming of the discussion we were having, and I noticed that President Trump is actually watching this and tweeted out with a picture of this committee that he was going to require that there be a grand jury testimony released. But I would note that in the Massey-Kana bill, it's not just grand jury testimony. There's so much more that is required. What about the travel logs? What about what happened around the suicide? What happens around everything? And so this limited disclosure of material is not what would be included in the Epstein Transparency Act, which we should all support so that the full record is released.
Yeah, and
I would yield to my good friend from Colorado.
yeah, and just thank you to the gentleman for yielding the time. The point that I was trying to articulate earlier is this precise point that Ms. Ledger-Fernandez just said, which is that the announcement from the President and from the Attorney General, this information is the very same information that would not have been allowed to be released under paragraph D of the resolution that was just deemed included in the rule. So that's the grand jury information that the Attorney General says online, we'll see if she does this, that indicates she will seek a court order to release, right, protected grand jury information. That information is not allowed to be disclosed, or it's at least it's a permitted area of segregation of records under the resolution. So
I'd like to yield to a ranking.
I yield back.
Yeah, and again, I want to associate myself with your remarks, and I'm not going to hold my breath that this administration on its own is going to do anything to shine light on the Epstein files. But in any event, to the amendment at hand, I want to point out to my colleagues that this bill fully eliminates federal funding for public TV and radio for the next 2 years. These are trusted sources of news and educational programming for millions of households. 42 million people listen to public radio weekly. 70% of the funding goes directly to over 1,500 locally owned public TV and radio stations across this country. This funding is particularly critical in rural areas where public stations are often the only source of local news. Just yesterday, after an earthquake and tsunami warning in Alaska, Senator Murkowski thanked local public broadcasting stations for, and I quote, giving Alaskans real-time updates and keeping us safe, end quote, and called for the Senate to vote down these misguided cuts. And I urge a yes vote on the Ledger-Fernandez amendment, and I yield back my time.
Thank you, Ranking Member, for supporting this, because indeed, we know that these radio stations are both beloved and essential. They are the public good, and we should be supporting those things which make America really a place of kindness and information and support for our public. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, the question's on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
Ask for roll call.
Roll call vote.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach? No. Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Norman? No. Mr. Norman, no. Mr. Roy? No. Mr. Roy, no. Mrs. Houchin? No. Mrs. Houchin, no. Mr. Langworthy? No. Mr. Langworthy, no. Mr. Scott? No. Mr. Scott, no. Mr. Griffith? No. Mr. Griffith, no. Mr. Jack? Mr. Jack, no. Mr. McGovern?
Aye.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Ms. Scanlon? Aye. Ms. Scanlon, aye. Mr. Neguse?
Aye.
Mr. Neguse, aye. Ms. Ledger-Fernandez? Ms. Ledger-Fernandez, aye. Madam Chair?
No.
Madam Chair, no.
Clerk will report the total.
4 yeas, 9 nays.
And the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to. Is there further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, the question is on the motion from the gentleman from Virginia. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed
Ask for a
to.
roll call vote?
Mr. McGovern asks for a roll call. The clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach? Aye. Mrs. Fishbach, aye. Mr. Norman? Mr. Norman, aye. Mr. Roy? Aye. Mr. Roy, aye. Mrs. Houchin? Mrs. Houchin, aye. Mr. Langworthy? Mr. Langworthy, aye. Mr. Scott? Mr. Scott, aye. Mr. Griffith? Mr. Griffith, aye. Mr. Jack? Mr. Jack, aye. Mr. McGovern?
No.
Mr. McGovern, no. Ms. Scanlon? No. Ms. Scanlon, no. Mr. Neguse?
No.
Mr. Neguse, no. Ms. Ledger Fernandez? No. Ms. Ledger Fernandez, no. Madam Chair?
Aye.
Madam Chair, aye.
The clerk will report the total.
9 yeas, 4 nays.
And the amendment is agreed to. The motion to report is agreed to. Accordingly, I'll be managing the rule for the majority.